It is another beautiful Sunday evening. Good evening and welcome to Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, Guel PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, MPS, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA. And our media partner on this journey of a lifetime is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. If you want to have a grasp of all that's transpired on the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you can read all that happened here on the show. Tonight, we are streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are streaming live at Iron Port. Now, we shall be getting interactive with you as usual, and so all you have to do is sit back, relax, and grab your phones and send us your messages and comments via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0538-037353, 0538-037353. Now, when the time is ripe and I pick signals from the production team, we shall activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the show. Please stay with us.
Energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP, available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP, Wufilia, huh? Wubefeel. Goil, good energy. Yeah.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water. Or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
Welcome to the GPHA port of Takoradi, Ghana's first commercial port. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA, has in its quest to position the ports of Ghana as the leading trade and logistics hub of West Africa, embarked on a massive expansion drive at its Takoradi port, the first commercial port of the country. This has resulted in a radical transformation of the initial 7-berth low-drafted port, which was constructed in 1928, to an ultra-modern port fitted with deep drafted container, multi-purpose dry bulk, and liquid bulk facilities. The 16-meter deep dry bulk terminal is the deepest in the sub-region, with a total quay length of 800 meters. It is fitted with a combined 3-kilometer length conveyor system, which comes with a 2,500 metric tons per hour ship loading capacity, which has greatly improved ship turnaround time at the port. The Marshall Liquid Bulk Terminal is a fully automated liquid bulk facility dredged to -14 chart datum and equipped with automated firefighting system. The facility is fitted with 5 loading arms for gasoline, diesel, LPG, bitumen, and heavy fuel. On the container side, Takoradi Port's 16-meter deep Port and ATSL container terminal with a quay length of 600 is expected to receive container vessels in the third quarter of the year.
All right, so you're welcome back. We are now going to take a look at happenings in the port and shipping industry that took place during the week. And indeed, DVLA, that's the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, has been praised for transformational achievements during the organization's Silver Jubilee celebrations. And this took place at the University of Ghana during the week. And they've also introduced new reforms for vehicles at Ghana's ports. We'll tell you what that is about. Plus the fact that the Ghana Navy band held a concert to bring us the lighter side of their activities. These and many more for your enjoyment.
The Driver Vehicle Licensing Authority has celebrated its 25-year anniversary with a public lecture on navigating the future through innovation and excellence in public service. The Silver Jubilee was marked at the University of Ghana's City Conference Hall, with participation from allied public sector officials and industry stakeholders. This year's celebration also served as an opportunity to reflect on the progress of the DVLA from a state agency plagued by allegations of corruption and inefficiency to a reformed institution thriving on the basis of digitization. The Chief Executive Officer of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, Kwesia Jiman Buzia, attributed the success of his outfit to deliberate strategizing and a shared commitment to excellence.
Today, we stand as a budding beacon of integrity and efficiency in public service. Through the relentless commitment to our strategic plan's foundational principles of people, process, and technology, supported with transparency, accountability, and service excellence, DVLA has undergone a remarkable evolution.
His thoughts were corroborated by other speakers who were full of praise for the leadership role DVLA has assumed, urging other public service organizations to emulate the authority.
When I assumed office in 2002, the total staff strength was 202. And out of the 202, there were only 2 graduates, implying that less than 1% of the staff were graduates. Today I'm reliably informed that over 90% of the 740 hardworking staff are graduates of various qualifications and professional accreditations. On this occasion of this anniversary, I urge you all to remain committed to the vision of becoming a world-class licensing authority, delivering exceptional services and promoting road safety.
I get worried that I don't hear much about what we will do about the public sector, because unless something fundamental is done about the public sector so that we have many DVLA stories, we have nowhere in terms of the future for this country.
I have just started a second discussion with the World Bank to finance some of these institutions. And the first institution I mentioned for a second phase of support was DVLA, because of my own experience with them. So I mentioned specifically two institutions, DVLA and the Passport Office. These institutions have had a remarkable change which has reflected on their service to the Ghanaian community.
Some successes chalked up over recent years at DVLA include the introduction of the Smart Card driver's license, the enhanced driver license application system, the rollout of digital transport and support systems DTSS, the electronic vehicle registration system, and the digitization of manual vehicle records, among others. The Deputy Chief Executive Officer in charge of the operations at the Driver Vehicle Licensing Authority DVLA, Prince Opoku Edusei, has revealed that plans are underway to launch an initiative soon that will track the movement of vehicles that transport cargo from the ports into the hinterlands to support existing government efforts.
There's already a project that we are going to roll out very soon, where trackers are going to be placed on some of these heavy goods carrying vehicles to ensure that when they leave the ports, where they claim to be their final destination is exactly where they are headed.
Speaking on the sidelines of the DVLA's public lecture at the University of Ghana to mark the authority's 25-year anniversary, the head of operations at DVLA also revealed that his outfit is working on digitizing direct from port car identification plates.
Also rolling out a project to digitize our DP plates. And so instead of DP, which we all know lasts 14 days, fixed on a car that drives out of the port, we are going to issue a sticker. And that sticker means that the details of that vehicle would already be in our database, because that, as far as we are concerned, is the birth of any vehicle in this country.
He also emphasized how the construction of the Buankra Integrated Logistics Terminal could improve safety.
We all know of the Buankra Inland Port project. I believe that that would come on stream very soon and is spearheaded by our minister, the Minister for Transport. That would help ensure safety on our roads as far as these HGVs are concerned. They cause a lot of accidents, we all know, and so we believe that when that comes, it will help reduce the breakdowns that we usually see, which cause some of these accidents.
Director of Driver Trainee Testing and Licensing at DVLA, Kafui Semavo, encouraged applicants to verify amounts charged with receipts in order to avoid falling prey to unnecessary extortions from Goro boys.
I mean, you've paid. It's your right to get that receipt, yes. And every time you get the receipt, reconcile with what you've paid. What we are going to be doing soon, my colleague spoke about, is that the DVLA app, when it is operationalized, what will happen is that every product you obtain for DVLA, you can verify it and know how much you paid for it. So when the product is given to you and the app cannot verify it,
The Ghana Navy plays a crucial role in protecting the country's territorial waters from pirates and other illicit activities. In addition to this important duty, the Ghana Navy also takes time to enjoy good music at the right moment. Over the weekend, the Ghana Navy organized an end-of-course band concert to showcase the musical talent of its members to stakeholders at the Eastern Naval Command. Graduates of the Ghana Navy Music Graduates of the Ghana Navy Music School, grouped into the regimental band and dance band, treated the audience to various genres of live band music. The guest of honor for the occasion, Flag Officer commanding the Naval Training Command, Commander Solomon Isiedulabi, urged the graduates to continue exhibiting discipline and hard work in the discharge of their duties to achieve the ultimate objective of the Ghana Navy.
As we enjoy the music today, let us remember that this concert is not just an end, but the beginning of a new chapter in your lives as musicians in the Ghana Navy and the Ghana Armed Forces at large. You have been equipped with the skills, knowledge, and discipline to serve your nation with pride.
Certificates were presented to graduates who excelled during the 6-month music course.
All right, so those were happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. We are now going for the word of the day. And remember, the word or phrase of the day has been fashioned to bring you up to speed with the terminologies and jargons we use in the shipping industry. Today's word is bay. Bay.
Bay refers to a section of vessel in which containers are held.
All right, so welcome back. We are zooming into our discussion proper tonight, and tonight we are taking a look at strategies for managing the fisheries sector in Ghana. We are taking some insights from the experience of the United States of America, and this topic comes on the back of a study tour by a group from Ghana to the University of Rhode Island, and this particular study tour has been ongoing for the last 5 years. It's a collaboration between the Center for Coastal Management at the University of Cape Coast and the University of Rhode Island. And it's been going on for some time now. There are other stakeholders that are, also partners in this particular, tour. And that's the Blue Governance and Economy Consult, the NAFAG, that's National Fishermen Association of Ghana, and then the National Fisheries Association of Ghana. And we also have the UCC itself, the Fisheries Commission, and a host of other, organizations. And so this year's took place from the 2nd through to the 19th of August 2024. And so, there was a lot that was learned, and yours truly was privileged to be part of the team that, paid this research visit. It was a research study tour and a leadership tour as well. And so we have decided to treat it today to see what we learned over there in the USA and what we can do to improve the management of fisheries in our country. So it gives me pleasure this evening to introduce to us our esteemed guests for our report tonight. To my extreme left is Professor Dennis Aheto. He's the director of Center for Coastal Management, University of Cape Coast. He's also the director of the Africa Center of Excellence in Coastal Resilience, also at the UCC, that's University of Cape Coast. Prof, good evening, sir, and welcome. I think this is your second time on the show, right? Awesome. Yes, we're glad to have you, sir. Yes, and also to my immediate left is Mr. Fred Enchibuedu. He is the Executive Director at the Fisheries Commission, Ghana. Good evening, sir. Edie, and welcome.
Thank you, Ken.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome.
Very, very grateful.
And to my right is our very own Mr. Rista Ni Ama Matthew. He's the Executive Director, Blue Economy and Governance Consult. Yes, he's also here. He's no stranger to the show. And indeed, all of us here in the studio were part of the team that went for this particular tour. And so let me begin with Prof and ask you, If you can give us some insights, first of all, about the 2024 study tour at the University of Rhode Island. And by the way, there's this, they call it vacuum cap?
Yeah.
Yes, that was presented to each delegate from Ghana, each participant from Ghana. You can see it, University of Rhode Island, 1892. That's a very, very old university, and it's still doing very well. It's doing magic over there. In fact, we enjoyed our stay there. It was serious studies and fun-packed as well. And we'd like to say a big thanks to Prof, to Rista, and the rest of the team for making it possible. So, Prof, yes.
Yes. Ken, thank you for the opportunity and for inviting me here to be part of this important national program.
Yes.
I feel very honored that you're also part of the team.
Absolutely.
And happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
Good evening
to
our listeners. Yeah, so, this initiative has been an initiative that has been running for almost 10 years, actually. We started quite a long while ago.
Right.
I will recall that as far back as 2015, we organized, when I say we, University of Cape Coast, through the Center for Coastal Management, working in tandem with the Blue Economic Consult, initiated this activity, as it were, to bring some level of awareness to research, to policy development, to cooperation when it comes to fisheries management. More often than not in Ghana, when we talk about fisheries management, I think the whole notion has been managing the fish. But obviously, you cannot manage fish. You have to manage the people who depend on the resource. And so you look at the full extent of the value chain, from the fishers to those that are involved, consumers and the managers of the fishery.
Yes.
So this activity came on the back of a memorandum of understanding which University of Cape Coast had signed with the University of Rhode Island to promote capacity development for the fisheries sector. And, it involved also the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences colleagues with whom we developed all this together with the Blue Economic Council. So in 2015 was the first one. It basically was to send the leadership of the Industrial Trawlers Association. With academia. And a major output of that activity really brought industry and academia together.
Yes.
And so we've been working quite closely in terms of even sending some of our students to the industrial. Now, fast forward, we did that every 2 years. In 2017, we looked now at the policy, the Fisheries Commission. We went with the leadership of the Fisheries Commission and also some individuals from academia. And the major fallout of that was the close season. The close season eventually became operational following that. And then in 2019, we went with the Select Committee on Food, Agriculture, and Cocoa Affairs. I mean, 5 members of parliament were with us. And that, in a way, also brought some deep sense of appreciation of effective fisheries management outcomes.
Right.
That also brought them closer to policy development and really have shifted the position in terms of the way they see it.
Yes.
And then we're to go on the fourth one, which was in 2021. Unfortunately, COVID struck.
Right.
We're not able to do that. But then in 2022, we're there with the Honorable Minister for Fisheries, who was with us, also with a more broader stakeholder community, including people from the EPA and many other state agencies. It's led to improved fisheries management outcomes, looking at issues of how to address IUU and many others. And then the last one, not the last, the fifth one was the one that you were involved. And this was also a bit more broad-based, where the leadership of the Fisheries Commission, ED himself was there, and some other key government institutions, particularly civil society institutions were there, and the media. And so it's been quite instructive. It's been quite useful in terms of how governance, fisheries governance issues, can be effectively coordinated, working with policy, academia, as well as industry. So the whole essence of this initiative is how we promote cooperation fisheries in cooperation in fisheries management outcomes.
Yes.
Working with government, academia, and of course civil society institution, and more importantly the industry,
right,
who are in the forefront of the affairs.
Right.
So this is in summary in terms of giving you some historical background.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed, Prof. Let me come to Mr. Matthew and find out from you what your takeaways were, and if you can bring us up to speed with some of the things that happened during this year's study tour.
Well,
on the places you visited, and what are the overarching objective for some of the things that we did over there were.
Yeah, thank you very much. I happen to have almost attended, I happen to have attended all the study tours.
Right.
And like Prof said, it has to do with managing the fishery resources. And managing the fishery resources is about managing the human being that deals with the resources. So you need to build the capacity of the human being to understand how to manage the resources.
Yes.
And so you realize that when we went to Rhode Island, it was to study the total value chain of the fisheries sector. Whereas they manage the fisheries more as a natural resource, we look at fisheries more as a food item.
Absolutely.
And that's where the vast difference is. Because if it is a natural resource that is capable of renewing itself, then you think about conservation,
sustainability
more before you think about what the end product is. We had the opportunity to eat a few of their fish that was available.
Yes.
But at no point were you able to identify the exact fish we were eating unless you know the fish, because almost all the fish we were eating were already processed.
Yes.
And so they were filleted or something. And so value had been added to the fish.
Right.
So you didn't need a bowl full of fish to eat in order to be... You only needed a few fish, and you are good to go. And of course, they are also very expensive.
Yes.
It's part of the fisheries management process that whatever gets to the table is processed. Value had been added. So the fisherman didn't need to bring the entire fish from the ocean in order to make a little money.
Yeah.
He also realized that the fishermen were not directly at the beach, or women were not there directly selling fish.
Yeah.
We went to Port St. Judith.
Yes.
We also went to New Bedford, to see the activities. And at no point did you see fish exposed.
Yeah.
It's only on a few occasions we saw people coming to buy lobsters.
Lobsters, yeah, sure. That was at Point
Which
Judith,
were the only time you saw people directly buying from the vessel.
Yes.
But at every point, the fish were directed to some cold store, and you found them in the supermarket,
right,
or in some other establishment where the fish had been processed properly.
I think this was when we went fishing on the Captain Beth as a vessel, the research vessel for URI, and this was our catch. If you can look at the video, it's being
when you
shown
ate your
right
own
now.
catch.
Yes. Yeah. So yes,
that is one. Secondly, you also realize that when we went fishing on Captain Beth, we were very selective as to what we were supposed to bring, because there were rules as to what fish you could land and what fish you could not land.
Yes.
And then when we went to see the gear developer, you realize that because they were careful not to harvest fish that was not legitimate, they were very conscious about the kind of gear that they were developing for fishing.
Yeah.
And so they developed gears that were selective, that wouldn't harvest fish they didn't want, but they didn't want to come in conflict with the law.
Yes.
So at all time material, they were very conscious. They were also conscious as to the number of hours they were supposed to spend at sea in order that they don't overfish their resources. There are issues of closed areas and all of that that also came up. Even though some of the fishermen were not too happy when you were speaking with them.
Yes.
But you realize that they had come to accept the fact that they needed to fish today and also fish tomorrow. So they were very conscious. Then when we met with Fred,
yes,
you saw the collaboration, that's the commercial fishing
Fisher,
center. So you saw the collaboration between industry and research and academia.
Yes.
So the Commercial Fisheries Center is located right in the University of Rhode Island on East Farm.
Yeah.
And their facility was provided by the university. They said they pay $1 a year for the facility. But at every point, they were working with the university. They were determining what they had to research and what they don't have. So basically, there was some collaboration. And so the fishermen were not working alone, and research and academia was also not working alone.
Yes.
And the regulator was also working with all the players in order to be able to manage the resources together.
Absolutely.
And I think that is one major takeaway that we've been trying to work on, because the activity is fisheries leadership and collaborative study and research study tour. So what we have not been able to do properly is the collaborative research aspect of it. That how do we work together as industry regulator and academia and research to be able to do a proper research as to what is it that we needed to do in order that when the regulator is setting the regulation, it's in conformity with research, and so nobody just writes law in abstract. Probably one of the things we missed was the Eastern Atlantic Fisheries Commission meeting. Because if we had had the opportunity to attend the meeting, we probably would have realized that at that meeting, the Fisheries Commission do not just sit, and it's an open meeting, normally organized in a hotel, and then persons who have done their research will come and present their research papers on specific species and make proposals to the commission in order to set quotas and all of that based on the health of the stock. Some who have done oceanographic research will come and present their research as to what impact climate change is having and all of that, and what mitigation measures to take. Then there was the issue of the wind farm that is coming up with the windmills that they are fixing in the ocean, and how fishermen have to maneuver. So there are research as to what they needed to do, whether they have to do trawling, whether they have to do jigging, or they have to use hook and line in order to avoid accidents. So at every point in time, there's some work, collaboration going on between all the stakeholders. And probably that is one thing. Maybe ED may now have to find ways and means of leading all of us into a system where it is possible for all of us to now sit. We know of the scientific and technical working group that meets regularly, but you needed something beyond that. You needed something that basically gets the Fisheries Commission to take input directly from persons who are conducting research. Because, Prof, you see, a lot of the research that students and persons in academia do not find their way to the commission in terms of direct hearing from those persons who have done the research, and then the commission board sitting and industry being there, and the commission listening to what research information there is and what recommendation and proposal they have. So that based on that, the commission may be able to now look at it. The Select Committee of Parliament do not get the benefit of research work, and that as Parliamentary Select Committee probably will take 2 weeks, and we want to hear from industry, we want to hear from research and academia in a place that is open. People come to present their research work. We listen to them in terms of policy formulation and then oversight responsibility for what is happening. And these are some of the new things we believe once we bring them into our fisheries governance and management, we'll be able to do a lot more than we are.
Okay. Let me come to Mr. Njubwedu and find out from you. In terms of regulation, as far as the fisheries sector in Ghana is concerned, you are the lead agency, that's the Fisheries Commission, and you were there. You saw the Americans share their experience with us. We had various stakeholders come to deliver papers and presentations and all that. I just want to find out from you what you picked from there. If you compare what they told us and what you saw there and what pertains in Ghana, What are your key takeaways?
Okay, so thank you very much, Ken. Let me also touch on the program in all. I think it's one of the best programs that we organized.
Right.
Prof and your team, thank you so much. If you look at the classroom work, for instance, you realize that they had people who presented issues on fisheries management.
Absolutely.
And then using the US as a case study.
Yes.
And then we had opportunity to discuss the case studies and then see where US is doing very well.
Yeah.
And where Ghana we can also pick from. So where we are doing well, and then the areas that we can also improve on. And I think that was very, very good.
Right.
So in terms of the enforcement or the regulations, we realized that in our meeting with the fishermen themselves, you could see they were well informed. They knew the laws.
Yes.
And to them, they also understood why they must comply,
Absolutely.
which is very, very good. In Ghana, we are not doing bad anyway. At least we do have some quarterly meetings with almost all the fleets,
The players,
all the players. So we can see that gradually they are coming up.
Right.
But I think there's still more than we can do to improve on that.
Yeah.
We can see in terms of compliance level, things have really changed. For tuna sector, we don't have so much challenge, because of the international laws, especially ICATs.
Yeah.
And for the trawlers too, there's been a lot of improvements.
Yeah.
And now we are installing the EMS.
Right. EMS.
Yes,
What's the
EMS, the electronic monitoring system. So
Yes.
we are starting it. And I'm sure once that one is done, then we can even rate the trawlers maybe 70% plus.
Right.
Where we have a little challenge is with the artisanal.
Right.
But even that, there are still a lot that have been doing. We see their leadership is very ready to assist in terms of the compliance, which is very good. And we think that is encouraging. So we are now sending a lot of attention there. We have the London Beach Association that has been set up there.
Right.
I think all the 290-something landing beaches, USAID, they have assisted us in putting about 80 of them. So we have the LABEX there. The Fisheries Enforcement Unit also assisting.
Yes.
Now they are also audit of the gears at the artisanal level.
Right.
And I think that with this and many other policies that we are putting in place, we believe we will definitely get there. But there has been a lot of improvements.
Right.
That one I must confess.
Okay. Let me come to Prof once again. And Prof, I think that one thing that caught my attention was the fact that we were told, and we saw it from the fisherfolk themselves, that they are aware of what they need to catch. And they go strictly according to that. They know that if you catch a particular species, they know how it matures. And so if it is immature, they throw it back into the sea. That's for the issues of sustainability, so that they can, continue to fish. Now, when you come to outside or our part of the world, in Ghana, you find, mesh sizes that are not particularly done to catch particular, exactly. And so it means that we still have a long way to go. To the extent that we're told that some of the fisher folk monitor themselves, and when they realize that a particular vessel catches or does the illegal thing, they themselves take them on and go and report to the authorities for the right thing to be done. But we don't have that here. Don't you think that we still have a long way to go in terms of education and sensitization and getting the fisher folk to understand and appreciate the essence of sustainability in the fisheries sector?
Right. Thanks, Ken. Definitely, we have a long way to go. That is true. I'm saying that because of the fact that in the US and of course in many developed countries, they use what we call science-based management.
Right.
Where the management of the resource and also the enforcement relies heavily on research data. And so when you have a system where the management relies on scientific information,
right,
and of course, what you said, in addition to working with the stakeholders, including the fishers, backed by very strong enforcement, definitely they will follow the rules. So that is what is happening in the States. When you come to Ghana, what we have is mixed management. I will call that mixed management. Mixed management in the sense that it's more on the level of policy development, policy formulation, fisheries development, fisheries management laws or regulations, if I may put it that way, with very little inputs from the science. Of course, in recent times, there has been quite some efforts in establishing the scientific technical committee, which is embedded within the Fisheries Commission, which is really helping to inform. But to what extent are we also mobilizing research information or research outcomes from all the universities, research institutions that are dealing on those issues and feed that into policy development? Or we creating a platform where research outcomes, can be discussed with policymakers and the industry. So I think that the lessons that we learn from the US actually provides us a lot of food for thought, in the sense that we need to do more than we are currently doing. Really rely on science through some mechanisms. At our center, we have tried to create a certain kind of platform, what we call a conference on fisheries and coastal environment. We've been running that since 2017. Last year, it culminated in the Blue Economy Conference, where we brought about 100 institutions from even across Africa, involving over 250 participants and all that. But that is what a university, that's how far a university can go, including bringing out communiques. But if those communiques are not implemented by the policymakers, so there needs to be a situation where industry, academia, and the regulators meet at a point and then look at the issues in terms of how we enforce, in terms of how we collect our data, in terms of how we harmonize them, how we look at limits. All these are known. Limits per catch, and also looking at the quotas, the creation of marine protected areas, fishing gear innovations. We're looking at even broader ecosystem-based management. That also brings on board the issues of climate change impacts, brings up the issues of pollution, which has become one of our major challenges in our fisheries sector. And even the issues of how investments in the sector from the perspective of subsidies, premix fuel and all this. So it's a real complex of issues, which is also backstopped by open access fishery when it comes to the small scale sector, because this is an unlicensed sector. So even though the Fisheries Act is there, the Fisheries Management Plan, the new one is in, I think it's from 2022, 2026, which has itemized all these beautiful things we are talking about, and even mirrors what you have in the US. But the problem really we face is how we implement these things. So the implementation is a key issue. We need to deal with the issue of habitat degradation. The galamsey happening is impacting severely on our coastal marine environment. At our center, we've been able to develop and work on a lot of research that has really looked at issues of pollution and the extent to which it's impacting the ocean resources, including fisheries. We've looked at impact of premix fuel, for instance, on the fisheries. We've looked at many other issues of IUU and all that. But the real point I'm making is that there must be a meeting point, where regulators are sitting with academia and research and industry to develop a clear path in terms of how the management of the stocks, the fisheries resources, are backed by science. And once we do that, we also set up some monitoring and evaluation systems that we can help to follow up on the implementation outcomes.
Yes.
But I must also underscore the fact that there is clear data limitation when it comes to our sector.
Okay.
There's clear data limitation in terms of the science that feeds into the process. I know the FSSD is doing a lot.
Yes.
But they are also constrained financially and also other resource constraints.
Right.
The investees are not being funded. There aren't any national research funds to be able to conduct the needed research.
Yes.
So research funding is extremely important as well in order to push this sector. What we have done at the center basically is working with development partners to resource the researchers to do the science.
Right.
But we're doing this research for external agents. So to what extent is the government itself investing in research? And I will be happy to hear DG's thought on this issue.
Yeah.
Because then once government is funding research then it can make certain demands on the researchers.
Absolutely.
In order to tell us what the situation is, what the situation with the stocks are, work with FSSD or whatever, whichever institutions that are also working in the country to bring out the needed data that can inform policy. So there's a clear disjoint between policy, academia, and industry. But I strongly think that in as much as the burden lies on government or the regulator to bring all of us together, I think we as academics and industry should also forge ahead on this issue. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Sir Prof. I'm coming to you. Yes. You have some issues to add to.
Yes, I just wanted to add.
Yes, it's just the issue of research. Like the video was showing, Captain Beth.
Yes.
That's the research vessel for the University of Rhode Island. That's a university, not a country. We are a country, a sovereign state, a nation.
No, they also have a research vessel for the Rhode Island state.
State, yes, for the state itself.
Yes.
And the University of Rhode Island has its own research vessel, Captain Beth. There's this vessel. Now, in Ghana, the whole of Ghana, we don't have even one research vessel. And I know this has been a long-standing issue with the Regional Maritime University. They've spoken about it for ages, and nothing is happening. Mr. Nchibwedu, you are the regulator.
Okay.
What can you do? Prof has thrown the ball in your court that you need to do something about it.
Okay, so let me add a few things to what Prof said. I wouldn't say we are at level 0.
Right.
If we are comparing ourselves to US, in terms of technology, they are far ahead. And then again, if you are looking at the investment that they put in, compared with ours, it's also very wide. But notwithstanding that, there are a lot of research that we are also doing, and we are not doing it alone as a regulator. We are doing it with the academia and then the CSOs.
Right.
And with some sponsorship coming from outside, they also even join us. Like the Norwegians are doing, USAID is joining, and then locally we have VJF, Yampuano, and the rest. So currently, research that is going on includes some status of the marine environment, the plastic pollution and climate change is also going on.
Okay.
Industrial trawl gear audits and modification of the industrial trawl gear is also ongoing. The biological monitoring of the modified trawl gear is also ongoing.
Right.
The canoe frame survey and then fisheries socioeconomics is also being done. And then the artisanal and the inshore gear audit is also ongoing.
Right.
And of course, the close season is also being monitored. And then we have the Norwegians also partnering us on the nursing program.
Right.
Last week we had the STC and other institutions joining to have some training on stock assessment, which they are yet to start. So something is being done, but it is not enough.
Right.
Well, with the research vessel, I remember Ministry of Finance promised 1 research vessel and then 2 patrol boats, but they are yet to get it.
Okay.
So we are still discussing with the industry too, because Nansen doesn't come often.
Right.
So we had them recently, but we are still discussing if probably they can give us one of the vessels so that we can also use it for that. But I think if you look at what happened in US, once they have it, you realize that the research that we did, especially when we went on fishing, we could see that this is very good.
Absolutely.
And that if we had to have it, that would be good. So I'm sure we'll definitely get it.
Right.
We'll definitely get it.
Okay, Prof, you wanted to...
I want to quickly comment on the issue of the research vessel.
Right.
The kind of stock assessments we do in Ghana basically relies on a system where we are documenting catches at landing beaches. So obviously what it means is that we don't even know where the fish are coming from. So we are doing stock assessment on a system where we don't know really where the stocks are coming from. So that is a major problem.
Right.
And that is why the research vessels are important, because then once you traverse the ocean, you know where you are getting the fish from. So when you do a stock assessment, you certainly know that these fish stocks are from here.
Right.
But then coming to the point of management, I am of the informed view that there's the need for a research vessel, but one that can be co-managed regionally, from a regional perspective.
Okay.
Because the management of a fishing vessel is extremely expensive. It's capital intensive. We don't want a situation whereby we invest millions of dollars into a fishing vessel and we cannot manage it. One other thing we can do is to make sure that all the programs, the projects, the universities that are receiving some support for research, we come together and put in money into managing whatever that research. And it can be done if we can sit around the table and really plan for this. But Ghana alone, per the situation we have, cannot run a research vessel. It's extremely expensive. The cost of fuel alone, and even the people that will manage that vessel, you really need high-level capacity. Captains and other. I mean, it's an area that we need to really discuss carefully.
Right.
More often than not, we've spoken about we getting a research vessel, but in terms of the running and maintenance costs, we need to factor that and make sure that we get it right even before we go there.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Prof, let me come to Mr. Niama Matthew Richter. And Prof mentioned the issue of policy development and policymakers and the fact that they need to do something. And in our part of the world, we don't seem to have a lot of policymakers who appreciate the nuances and intricacies involved in the industry. And so don't you think that there's a need for some element of education, some element of sensitization to bring them up to speed with the exigencies of the time that we find ourselves in as a country in terms of fisheries management, so that they can formulate the right policies and then ensure effective implementation? We might say we have the policies too, but enforcement or implementation has always been a problem. What do we do to bring our policymakers on the same page so that we can ensure that they do the right things for the industry to grow and develop?
Thanks, Ken. I'm not sure we lack persons who have clear appreciation. Probably we have more than we need.
Right.
Except that we've allowed partisan politics to make people not want to show their faces because if people get involved and work for one government or the other, persons may be identified as belonging to a political party. So that is one major challenge we have. Probably when the political parties were writing their manifesto, there were a lot of knowledge in the universities and industry and other places. Some retirees who could just sit around the table and put together clear policies to guide how this country is run. Secondly, you see, we have also made it look like the ocean is there. When you go there, you take the fish. Some canoe had on them, sea never dry. So once the sea is not dried, there will always be fishery resources in there that they can always take. And the sea is drying as we talk now. You realize that we fished in a bay and we were told that the bay was probably cleaner than some of the water they drink. And that people were even complaining that the bay had become too clean, that they were having challenges getting algae growing in the bays because the bay is so clean. And at the University of Rhode Island, we saw some of the underground tunnels with a clear indication that it leads to the bay to warn people as to what they should pour into those underground tunnels in order that they don't end up polluting the bay.
Yes.
So, you see, in fisheries management, habitat is so crucial. Now, if you go to the western region, particularly areas that take their water flow from the Pra and then the Ankobra, you realize that the whole place is polluted. I understand some resorts are even closing down just because they are losing the quality of the water around the ocean. So we are, in the first place, we're taking out water resource management from fisheries management. And fisheries only survives in the sea. So when you take the habitat out and say you are managing the fishery resources, there is a problem. The Constitution provides for a fisheries commission because it is natural resource based. So its management should be natural resource based. You go to Parliament and fisheries is under food, agri, and cocoa affairs. That has absolutely nothing to do with natural resources. So the perception that fisheries is food. And so we first need to now look at managing fisheries as a natural resource. That is finite in itself, unless you manage it very well. Because there are some fish today that we are no longer seeing, just like some species are endangered. There are fishes that are also endangered. So we need to think again about the fisheries management itself. Probably use an ecosystem-based approach so that you manage the entire fishery and its habitat, and you look at the food chain and food web, basically everything. We went to some labs at the and then you found what they were doing in the lab. It wasn't a very big lab. Prof, I don't know when we went to the lab, you were there with us. I think it was the opening ceremony when we went to the CRC campus. And it was, and they had a tuna lab, and then they have lab for crustaceans and others.
Other species,
And it was not a very big place, but they had tanks that have been properly set. And there was a student who was there. You realize that people are observing 24/7. And they were observing clam because it has to, she has to be sure that when it is gravid and it's time for it to spawn, they saw exactly what was happening and then they could record. So it was up to the time observation of everything that was happening in the lab.
Real time,
So, and that was one university. The last time we were at the University of Massachusetts as part of the study tour, they have a prune tank that they were trying their gears there to look at how the gears were going to perform. So, you see, we probably need to work more closely with the university because fisheries is not just an employment issue, it's also a food security issue. And so it is also a national security issue. So once you begin to lose the employment sector in the fisheries sector because you are not properly managing it, what it means that a lot of people are now going to lose their source of livelihood and they become a threat to the state. Because when they are unemployed, it becomes a challenge. So you need to probably invest more than just what we are investing into fisheries and just sitting back and say, okay, take fishing license or take fines and then use that to manage the fishery. We need to be conscious about fisheries management in Ghana. We need to be more serious about how we operate within that space. Because even in the classroom, the persons who made presentation did not just come from fisheries. They came from various sectors of the regulatory system, and they all spoke to their role in terms of how fisheries is being managed within the American system. You get it? You may have a few people serving on one board or the other, and at board meeting they may say something, but that interagency collaboration where everybody has specific role to play in order that the fishery resources are properly managed, because the fisheries exist in a habitat, for which responsibility may not just be with the Fisheries Commission. For instance, port state measures. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority has a lot of responsibility when it comes to issues of port state measures. Ghana Maritime has a lot of responsibility when it comes to issues of safety, because as part of our drills, there were safety drills that we went through at East Farm. So it means that safety is also part of fisheries management. There were issues of habitat management that came up. So you need to have everybody at the table looking at what roles we all have to play in order that we manage our fisheries well. The Ministry of Works and Housing, and I always say it, look at how we've destroyed almost all our lagoons and wetlands. People building right into the heart of wetlands, and nothing is happening. So it means that you are compromising the fisheries habitat, you are compromising the ecosystem completely. People are winning sand. You have drains that are channeled into one water body or the other, destroying all of them, and they end up in the ocean. People are building along the coastline, and nobody cares about. And so you need almost everybody on board. Fisheries should be taken more serious than we probably are taking it. And because we are not taking it serious, even students who are offered the opportunity to study fisheries at the university sometimes want to shy away from it because they feel that, oh, what is fisheries? I don't want to be a fisherman. We're in Rhode Island. Almost all the fishermen we met were graduates. From one university or the other. We saw we heard about the mentorship program that the Commercial Fisheries Center is running, for which we were pleading to even send graduates from Ghana to go there for 2-3 months to go and learn about and they will not learn just about fishing. They will learn about conservation. They will learn about gear development, gear mending. They will learn about habitat protection and a whole lot of things. You see, so we need to start teaching fishing not as a scientific subject, but as a livelihood activity for which a number of events run around. And we need to look at ocean health because we are destroying our ocean, and it's becoming transboundary. Because the galamsey activity in the Western region is now eating into Côte d'Ivoire. It may result in a conflict between Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana if they realize that we are destroying their coastline, especially when they have a lot of rivers that connect directly into their ocean, and they have a lot of inland activity. We also hear about the Fisheries Commission and heard that Pennsylvania, for instance, which is not a coastal state, is on the Fisheries Commission because they have salmons and other species that migrate spawn from freshwater. So they take into cognizance the entire activity of the fishery before even deciding who should sit on a commission or a board. So we need to be careful exactly how we are managing our fishery. I feel we probably need to step it up a little bit. That's Mr. Ristani Amafio. He's the Executive Director of the Blue Economy and Governance Consult. Also in the studios with us, Professor Dennis Aheto, Director, Center for Coastal Management, University of Cape Coast. He's also the Director at the Africa Center of Excellence in Coastal Resilience, also at the University of Cape Coast. And indeed, Mr. Fred Entry Bwedu, who is the Executive Director of the Fisheries Commission Ghana. Tonight we are taking a look at some strategies to manage the fisheries sector in our country, and we are in perspective is the experience of the United States of America. We're going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue with the discussion. Please stay with us.
Good energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP. Available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP, Wufilia, huh? Wubefi. Goil, good energy. Yeah.
electricity, then pay your taxes. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
Welcome back. This is Iron Port here on Metro TV, and tonight we are taking a look at strategies for the management of the fisheries sector in our country. And we are looking at the United States of America's experience, and this comes on the back of a study tour by a team from Ghana, led by the University of Cape Coast Center for Coastal Management and indeed the Blue Economy and Governance Consult. This study tour took place at the University of Rhode Island, and so we are bringing perspectives that were gained there to the discussion tonight. And with us in the studio is Professor Dennis Ahito, Director, Center for Coastal Management, University of Cape Coast. He's also the Director of the Africa Center of Excellence in Coastal Resilience, also at the University of Cape Coast. Mr. Fred Nchibwedu is the Executive Director at the Fisheries Commission Ghana, and indeed Mr. Richard Ni Amafio, Executive Director, Blue Economy and Governance Consult. They are those we have in the discussions. We have been told by the production team that we can activate the phone lines for you to call in. Pretty shortly, we shall be coming to your messages. You can call in and then contribute to the discussion. The number to dial is 020-552-8353 to be rolled on your screen pretty shortly so that you can call in and contribute to the discussion. Now, Prof, let's take a look at leadership and whether there's that commitment of leadership to the management of our fisheries sector. We are in the political season, and I don't know what you are looking at, whether there's something for the politicians from your side.
Yeah, that is a very good question. So our center is set up to provide coastal management extension, which also includes fisheries and other coastal resources. So in 2020, we created a platform for political parties to tell Ghanaians what they have in their manifestos in view of the issues that we're talking about. So marine environmental management, looking at fisheries as a key component. It was live on TV from 6 to, I think it was an hour's program, which brought all the political parties to discuss the issues. This year, we're going to still talk about the fisheries sector, what we call the political parties dialogue, enabled by the Ghana Fisheries Recovery Activity. And we are hoping and planning to make sure that this event comes on the 17th of September 2024 at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly Auditorium.
AMA, okay.
Yeah, AMA. It's going to be a 3-hour discussion. And all the political parties have shown interest in coming. It's free and open to the public.
Are you looking at the presidential candidates, or they can send representatives?
Yes, we are looking for the presidential candidates or their representatives. But from the experience, the presidential candidates didn't show up. Well, except for one who showed up. But then we are hoping that we are waiting to see the nominations that come up. Yeah, so I want to use this platform, and thanks to you, to invite the general public to the AMA on the 17th. We start at 6 p.m. And it's going to be live on Joy.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Great. That's something that we're looking forward to. Let me come to Mr. Njubwedo and find out from you. I think there was something came up during the study tour about the close season and the similarities that we have in the U.S. and in Ghana. Can you tell us what you learned about the study, the close season over there?
Okay, so thank you very much. So I think the close season has come to stay. And fortunately for us, the industry have also accepted it. You know, for the tuna, it's been there for a while. And so there we don't have so much challenges. And then the industrial trawlers too, that also have the 2 months. And then we started with the artisanal. And you realize that year by year, compliance level is increasing, which is good. So theirs is 1 month. We have the trawlers been 2 months. And then the tuna 2.5, almost 3 months. So in US, you realize that they have a longer period. And the fishermen themselves also accept the fact that it should be there so that they can also conserve the fish, so that at least they can spawn at least once before they are caught. One thing that we also realize is that during the close season, they also have some alternative livelihood. And then some also go into, there are some tourism also part of it. But here, we've also started the alternative livelihood. Just that we realize that the men especially are not so much interested. So we have a lot of the women and then their children taking part in the livelihood programs, which being sponsored by GFRA of USAID. And now, government also introduced the aquaculture for food and jobs. And now we're also encouraging the fishermen to also buy into that. I think few ones are coming up, but we still have a lot of them who to them are only interested in just going to see. But I'm sure gradually we'll get there. Unlike US, where they've come to accept that we have to close it, have them to spawn, let's go into this livelihood, and then it is really, really happening. But I think so far, so good with our close season.
Okay.
Unfortunately for us to, we'll have almost everybody also supporting it, and that is also good.
Okay. We're going into the inbox now, and this one says, indeed, the ocean has several abundant resources, especially fisheries resources, but that is not indicative of their perpetuity. they can run out. This discourse is important to propose ways by which these resources can be effectively managed, taking the U.S. into consideration. Thank you for such an insightful discussion, Prof, and the rest of the team. We are proud of the work you do. This one is from Antonio Kokuvi. Thank you very much indeed, Antonio, for your message. This one says, my name is Gracie in Cantonments, and I am loving your show. You visited the University of Rhode Island. What exactly did they show you there that can work here in Ghana? Are there systems we can apply directly to stop overfishing?
But almost everything they showed us is applicable in our situation.
Yeah. Yes.
It was not like things that are beyond our doing.
Yes.
There are things we can do if we commit to them.
Yeah.
The difference probably is their level of understanding of the system that they operate and the levels of poverty. They were not fishing to eradicate poverty. They were fishing because it is a business.
Yes.
And they approach it business-like.
Yes.
And probably we need to put that business part in our fisheries management and make fishermen to understand that it's not just a cultural activity.
Yeah.
It's a business that has to be managed like any other business.
Yeah.
And get the science to it. The difference, the major difference is the level of involvement of science and research in their fisheries management.
Right.
It is not managed by politicians.
No.
It is managed based on the science and the research that is available.
Right.
So if the science and research says that these stocks are collapsing, and so those stocks are
channel their
closed,
energies towards there.
the next thing the fisherman will do is to look for the gear that will exclude the fishery that is closed. And then we'll look for the fishery that is healthy.
Yes.
So now the fishery that is struggling will now have to be rebuilt.
Yes.
Whilst they depend on those that are healthy.
Yes.
And you see, I'm sure one of the things we probably also need to do is to be deliberate about import substitution.
Right.
And get fishermen involved.
Okay.
Because if we increase the cost of importation, then we'll have to overly rely on capture fishery.
Yeah.
So we need to look at how to balance aquaculture, which unfortunately will be difficult to do now because of the rate at which we basically polluted all our natural water bodies, the Ancobra, the Pra, and all of that.
Okay.
Otherwise, normally what we would have done would be to ring fence some of these natural water bodies that they are meant for aquaculture,
Yes.
and then some of the coastal estuaries, and then be able to grow some of the fish that we could easily grow. But when you pollute your water body, you cannot do aquaculture.
Right. Okay.
I also want to add up to a bit to what Richard has said is very true. I mean, we don't focus on fisheries as a business, and I think it's something we need to underline in this program.
Right.
And secondly, the fact that it is not science-based.
Right.
You know, it's more driven by politics of the day. And we think that is something that we need to underscore. But then again, in as much as we talk about the U.S., we need to also emphasize that they also face their unique challenges.
Yes.
It's not as if everything is fine. I mean, there are issues of climate change, habitat degradation.
Yes.
They face a lot of conflicting issues between commercial recreation, recreation against commercial fisheries and conservation issues. They face challenges of marine pollution as well, because, you know, the ocean is vast, it's global, and whatever happens in other countries, even the BP thing that happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, you remember, I think, the Gulf of Mexico.
Mexico, yeah.
Yes.
You know, there was this marine pollution from drilling of oil, which affected marine life and all that. So they also face their challenge. I think that what they are doing right, in response to the question the gentleman asked, has to do with effective management, in addition to the policies,
Yeah.
enforcement of the rules,
Yeah.
the cleanup when it comes to issues of
Yeah.
pollution,
Right.
sensitizing people, high capacity development. But
Yeah.
for the universities, government, the U.S. government has dedicatedly provided resource and grant opportunities
Yes.
for universities to access and do these kinds of research. An example is the Sea Grant.
Right.
There's a model, the Sea Grant model, which provides financial and logistical support to universities
Yes.
to work collaboratively with groups
Yes.
within the sector.
Right.
And I think these are models that we need to learn from.
Okay.
The Fisheries Commission, I know, have a fund, which Fisheries Development Fund, which is supposed to support research, but we have hardly.
He doesn't want that.
So I think we'll come to you.
Yes. All right. There are tons of messages. I think that you should get your pens ready and then note that those that you can, so that we can respond to them. Because we have barely 4 minutes or 3 minutes to go. This one says, "Hi, on Paul. This is Nemo from Deshi. How can the practices you saw in Rhode Island be adapted to small-scale fishermen in our coastal towns, like those in Jamestown or Elmina? Will it be expensive for them?" And this one says, "After your visit to the U.S., what do you think is the most urgent action our government needs to take to fix this problem fast?" It's from Eben in Cape Coast. And this one says, "I am very worried about the plastic situation at our beaches. I like to go fishing as a hobby. When I go fishing nowadays, I don't make a catch until hours, and the fish are simply too small. I suspect the plastic ingestion. What do our experts think?" This one is from Jonas in Pram. Now, this one says, "Hi, I'm Sandra from Legon. A great show, but I think studying of fisheries should be made attractive. We the university students. There was a time I became interested in the subject, but my friends were laughing at me. Please ask your guests how can Ghana's fisheries management ecosystem or system be made more inclusive and for artisanal fishers." Jonathan from Tema sent in that one. Let me tell you, it's not a laughing matter. Indeed, if you go to the U.S., all the people that we saw, they were millionaires. Those that came for the opening ceremony. And you see him in his...
The trucks that we bluff with.
Exactly. You see him in his shorts and his nice T-shirt, and then he's doing his stuff, and then you think that you are going to laugh at such a person because the fellow is into fisheries. No, I don't think it's a laughing matter. So don't mind your mates. Go ahead and do your stuff. This one says, "The co-management policy has brought a host of stakeholders into the management. SCC as a larger co-management body, SPCC or small pelagic co-management committee, away from top-down approach to consensus-based management." This one is from Emmanuel in Tema. Well, those that you have picked, maybe 30 seconds each, because we barely have time to digest all of them. So,
right. I think I'll touch on the issue of plastics.
Yes.
And maybe one more.
Right.
Plastic is a major challenge, as is one of the major environmental fallouts which we are facing in our country, and of course in many other developing countries. And I think that one of the critical urgent action that needs to be taken is to, the policies are there. I mean, as we always say, but we need to work a lot more on sensitizing the people in terms of the single-use plastics, in a program like we are. This is eventually going to end up in the ocean.
Exactly.
We need to really conscientize, sensitize, and educate the public in terms of the impact. And if plastics get into it, it will take more than 500 years for plastic to degrade in the ocean. Research has shown.
Yes.
And of course, they eventually become microplastics. They get into the food. So we are eating the plastics that are getting into the water.
Yeah.
And so the key urgent action is to look at the consumption side. Let's educate the public so that we reduce the use of it. Once we are reducing and there's hardly any market for it, I think the producers will also begin to think.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lastly, on the issue of the studying fisheries.
Yes.
We have faced these problems. I mean, we do. It's right that we mentioned the fact that there need to be some mindset change in terms of looking at it as a natural resource, as Rista has said.
Yes.
So that universities need to also go out there speak to senior high school students and the young ones and really tell them the opportunities that are available when you study outside.
Right. I think that's all that time will permit. Yes.
That, we plan to have some vacation school for secondary schools on fisheries, so that they go to UCC for 2 weeks to understand and engage fishermen. And I think the pressing thing we need to do is think about restoration of the fisheries habitat.
Right.
Because the habitat is in bad shape. Okay. And when we don't restore the fisheries habitat, we should forget about fisheries management.
Mr. Richard Ni Amafio is the Executive Director of the Blue Economy and Governance Consult. Indeed, Professor Dennis Ahito, Director, Center for Coastal Management and Director, Africa Center of Excellence in Coastal Resilience, University of Cape Coast. And indeed, Mr. Fred Enchibwedu, who is the Executive Director, Fisheries Commission Ghana. They've been my guests tonight on Iron Port. And remember, we've been taking a look at strategies to manage the fisheries sector in Ghana, and we've been looking at the U.S. experience. We thank you so much for being a part of today's discussion. Indeed, we shall bounce back next week, God willing, with another wonderful edition of your favorite Iron Port program. Remember, I would like to say thanks to our sponsors, GOIL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Revenue Authority, MPS, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Ghana Link, and indeed Phoenix Insurance, Serene Insurance as well. Remember, the show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. We entreat you to watch the abridged version of the show on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on Ghana Television. My name is Kennedy Mona. I wish you a super week ahead, and we thank you so much for choosing us. Stay blessed and enjoy the rest of our program.